The sun is not quite up yet, but the sky is starting to change. It is that soft gray color that comes just before the blue. Everything is very quiet. The birds are still sleeping in the trees, and the street lights are still glowing with a warm orange light. Inside the house, the air is cool and still. I wake up slowly, stretching my arms and legs under the soft blankets. There is no rush today. It is a market day, and the market starts early, but it also moves at its own pace. I sit on the edge of the bed for a moment, listening to the silence. My feet touch the cold wooden floor, and it feels refreshing. I walk to the kitchen and put some water on the stove. The sound of the water starting to boil is small and comforting. While I wait, I look out the window. I can see the mist hanging over the grass in the garden. It looks like a thin white blanket. I make a cup of tea, holding the warm ceramic mug between my hands. The heat from the tea travels into my fingers, waking me up gently. Now I need to get ready. I find my favorite canvas bag. It is old and a bit faded, but it is strong. It has deep pockets and long handles that fit perfectly over my shoulder. I also take a smaller basket for the things that might break easily, like eggs or soft berries. I sit down at the kitchen table and think about what I need. I do not want to write a long, stressful list. Instead, I just think about the colors I want to see on my plate this week: red tomatoes, green spinach, orange carrots, and maybe some yellow lemons. I put on my comfortable walking shoes and a light jacket. The keys make a soft jingle as I pick them up. I open the front door, and the fresh morning air hits my face. It smells like wet grass and clean pavement. I lock the door behind me and take a deep breath. The world is just starting to wake up, and it is time to begin my walk. The streets are empty of cars, and the only sound is the rhythm of my own footsteps on the sidewalk. It is a peaceful way to start the day. The houses I pass are all dark. People are still dreaming. I see a cat sitting on a garden wall, watching me with big, curious eyes. It doesn't move, and neither do I. We just look at each other for a second in the quiet morning. I continue walking, turning the corner toward the center of the town. The sky is turning a pale pink now. I can hear a distant sound, a low hum that gets louder as I get closer to the market square. It is the sound of life beginning. It is the sound of the market. The walk to the market is one of my favorite parts of the day. It is a time to think and to notice small things that I usually miss when I am in a hurry. I walk past the old bakery. Even though the door is closed, I can smell the bread baking inside. It is a heavy, sweet, and warm smell that fills the entire street. It makes me feel hungry, but in a pleasant way. I know that later I will come back here for a fresh loaf. I cross the small stone bridge over the river. The water below is moving slowly, reflecting the pink and purple colors of the morning sky. I stop for a moment to watch a leaf float down the stream. It moves around the rocks and disappears under the bridge. The air here is a little cooler because of the water. I pull my jacket a bit tighter. The rhythm of my walking feels good. My legs feel strong and my mind feels clear. As I get closer to the town square, I see other people. Most of them are sellers getting their stalls ready. I see a man carrying a large crate of apples. He moves carefully, placing the crate on a wooden table. We nod at each other, a silent greeting between two people awake before the rest of the world. I see a woman arranging flowers in tall glass jars. She's putting the sunflowers in the back and the small blue daisies in the front. The colors are so bright, they almost look like they are glowing in the soft light. I walk past the hardware store and the small post office. Their windows are dark, but the market stalls in front of them are full of activity. I hear the sound of wooden boxes being opened and the clinking of metal scales. People are talking in low voices, not wanting to break the peace of the early morning. I find a small bench near the edge of the square and sit down for a minute. I want to watch the market come to life. The sun is finally peeking over the tops of the buildings. The orange light hits the cobblestones, making them shine. The shadows are long and thin. I see a truck arriving with fresh fish. The smell of the sea comes with it, salty and sharp. I see the milkman delivering glass bottles to the cafe on the corner. The clinking of the glass is like music. Everything is moving in a slow, organized way. Everyone has a job to do, and they do it with quiet focus. I feel calm just watching them. My bag is empty now, but soon it will be heavy with good things. I stand up from the bench and walk into the heart of the market. The first section I visit is always the vegetables. There's something so beautiful about the piles of fresh, earth-grown food. I walk to a stall run by an elderly man I have known for years. He wears a thick wool sweater and has kind eyes. His stall is famous for its greens. He has large bundles of kale, spinach, and lettuce. The leaves are still wet with dew, and they look incredibly crisp. I reach out and touch a head of lettuce. It feels cold and firm. I ask the man how the harvest was this week. He tells me the rain was good for the greens, but the tomatoes needed a bit more sun. He speaks slowly, and his voice is deep and calming. I choose a large bunch of spinach and some bright green parsley. He wraps them in a piece of brown paper and hands them to me. The paper feels rough and dry in my hands, a nice contrast to the wet leaves. Next to the greens are the root vegetables. There are carrots with their long green tops still attached, covered in a little bit of dark, rich soil. There are potatoes of all sizes, some small and pink, others large and brown. I pick up a bunch of carrots. They are vibrant orange and smell like the earth. I also choose a few onions with skin as thin as paper. When I touch them, the skin crunches softly. The colors at this stall are wonderful. There are purple eggplants that shine like glass and bright red peppers that look like jewels. I spend a long time looking at the different shapes. Some peppers are long and thin, others are round and fat. I decide to buy 2 yellow peppers because they look like little pieces of sunshine. The seller puts them into my basket carefully so they do not get bruised. I move to the next stall, where a woman is selling heirloom tomatoes. They are not perfectly round like the ones in the supermarket. They are bumpy and come in many colors: dark red, striped green, and even deep purple. She cuts a small piece of a yellow tomato and offers it to me. It tastes sweet and a little bit tart. I buy 3 large ones, thinking about how good they will taste with some salt and olive oil. My bag is starting to feel a little heavier now, and the weight feels good on my shoulder. Leaving the vegetables behind, I walk toward the fruit stalls. The air here changes. It becomes sweet and fragrant. It smells like ripened peaches and sugary strawberries. The fruit section is the most colorful part of the market. There are piles of oranges, stacks of green pears, and baskets full of dark, glossy cherries. I stop at a stall where the owner is stacking wooden crates of peaches. The peaches are fuzzy and soft. I pick one up and hold it near my nose. The scent is heavy and sweet, making me think of warm summer afternoons. I choose 4 peaches that feel just right, not too hard, but not too soft. The seller smiles at me and adds an extra one for free. It is a small kindness that makes me feel warm inside. I put them into my basket very gently, making sure they are on top of the heavier vegetables. Nearby, there are berries, strawberries in small blue boxes, raspberries that look like tiny hats, and blueberries that are almost black. I watch a young girl help her mother choose the best strawberries. They are looking for the reddest ones. I decide to get some blueberries. They are small and round, and when I move the box, they make a soft rolling sound. I imagine eating them for breakfast with some yogurt. I see a stall selling nothing but apples. There are so many different kinds. Some are bright green and very sour, while others are dark red and sweet. The seller explains which ones are best for eating fresh and which ones are best for baking. I choose 3 crisp green apples. I like the way they crunch when you bite into them. I also find some plums that are a deep, beautiful purple. Their skin is smooth and cool to the touch. As I walk, I notice the smell of citrus. There are lemons with thick, bumpy skin and limes that look like green marbles. I buy 2 lemons because I love their bright, clean scent. I also find a small pile of apricots. They are a soft orange color and feel like velvet. I add a few to my collection. My basket is now a beautiful mix of colors: orange, red, blue, and purple. It looks like a painting. I feel a sense of peace looking at all this natural beauty gathered together in one place. I move away from the sweet smells of fruit and toward the back of the market. Here, the air is cooler and smells of salt and ice. This is the fish market. The sellers here have loud, friendly voices. They call out to each other and to the customers. The fish are laid out on large beds of crushed ice. The ice sparkles under the morning sun, and the fish scales shine like silver and gold. I see large salmon with their pink flesh and small silver sardines lined up in rows. There are also bowls of shrimp and piles of dark mussels. I watch a seller clean a fish for a customer. His movements are very fast and precise. He uses a sharp knife, and the sound of the blade against the wooden board is rhythmic. It is a skill that takes years to learn. I find it relaxing to watch someone who is so good at what they do. I decide to buy some white fish for my dinner. The seller picks up a piece that looks very fresh. He wraps it first in clear plastic and then in several layers of thick white paper. He explains that this will keep it cool and fresh until I get home. I thank him and put the heavy package at the bottom of my bag, away from the delicate fruit. Near the fish, there is a man selling sea salt and dried seaweed. He has large jars of salt in different colors: white, gray, and even a soft pink. He lets me smell a jar of smoked salt. It smells like a campfire on a beach. I buy a small bag of sea salt crystals. They feel rough and grainy inside the bag. I also notice some fresh herbs nearby that go well with fish. I pick up a bunch of dill. It is feathery and light, with a very specific fresh scent. The fish market is busy, but it does not feel stressful. People are moving with purpose, but they are not rushing. There is a sense of tradition here. The same families have been selling fish in this square for a long time. I like the feeling of being part of something that has happened every week for many years. It makes me feel connected to the town and its history. I take one last look at the shining fish on their beds of ice before moving on to the next part of my journey. I walk into a small, covered area of the market where the air is warm and filled with deep, earthy smells. This is where the spices, grains, and nuts are sold. It is much quieter here than in the fish market. The sounds are muffled by the heavy bags of flour and rice. I see large wooden barrels filled with different kinds of beans: red kidney beans, black beans, and small green lentils. The spice stall is a wonder for the eyes. There are jars and bowls filled with powders in every color of the rainbow: bright yellow turmeric, deep red paprika, brown cinnamon, and green dried herbs. I stand in front of the stall and breathe in deeply. The smell is complex and wonderful. It reminds me of far-off places and warm kitchens. I decide to buy some cinnamon sticks. They're curled up like small pieces of bark and feel dry and light. I also need some walnuts. The seller has a large sack of walnuts still in their shells. He uses a metal scoop to fill a small paper bag for me. The sound of the nuts hitting the paper is a series of soft thuds. I also buy a handful of almonds. They are smooth and almond-shaped, and they make a nice clicking sound when I shake the bag. I like the feeling of these dry, solid things in my hands. Next to the spices, there is a man selling honey. He has many different types in glass jars. Some honey is very clear and light, while other types are dark and thick. He explains that the flavor depends on which flowers the bees visited. I choose a jar of wildflower honey. When I hold it up to the light, it looks like liquid gold. The jar is heavy, and the lid is sealed with a piece of wax. I also find some fresh bread nearby. It is not the bakery I passed earlier, but a small stall that sells specialty loaves. I choose a round loaf of sourdough. The crust is dark and hard, but I know the inside will be soft and chewy. It is still a little bit warm from the oven. I can feel the heat through the paper bag. I place the bread carefully in my bag. The combination of the warm bread, the sweet honey, and the aromatic spices makes me feel very content. Everything I need for a good week is now in my bags. Before I leave the market, I always visit the flower corner. It is located at the far end of the square, where the sun shines brightest. This area is like a small forest in the middle of the town. There are buckets of roses, lilies, tulips, and wildflowers. The colors are so bright they almost hurt my eyes in a beautiful way. There is no one specific smell here, but a mixture of many light floral scents. I walk slowly through the rows of flowers. I see a bucket of deep red roses. Their petals look like velvet. Next to them are white lilies that stand tall and proud. I prefer the wildflowers though. They look more natural, as if they were just picked from a field. I see a bunch with blue cornflowers, yellow buttercups, and white daisies. It looks like a little piece of the countryside. I talk to the flower seller, a young man with dirt under his fingernails and a wide smile. He tells me which flowers will last the longest in a vase. I choose a simple bunch of lavender. I love lavender because the smell is very relaxing. It is a scent that helps me sleep at night. He ties the lavender together with a piece of brown string. The purple flowers are small and delicate, and the green stems are strong. I also see some small potted plants. There are herbs like rosemary and thyme, and small flowers like pansies. I decide to buy a small pot of mint. The leaves are bright green and have a very strong, refreshing smell. I think about how nice it will be to have fresh mint in my kitchen window. I carry the little pot carefully in my hand as there is no more room in my bags. Standing in the flower corner, I look back at the whole market. It is now full of people. I see friends greeting each other, children looking at the fruit, and sellers laughing. It is a beautiful scene of community. Everyone is there for the same reason, to find good food and enjoy the morning. I feel a deep sense of gratitude for this place. The flowers are the final touch to my morning. I have everything I need, and my heart feels light. As I begin to walk out of the market, I feel a sudden lightness on my shoulder. One of the handles of my old canvas bag has snapped. I quickly catch the bag before it hits the ground, but some of my carrots fall out and roll across the cobblestones. I feel a moment of worry. My bag is very full, and I still have a long walk home. I stand there for a second, holding the broken bag in my arms. A woman who was walking behind me stops immediately. She helps me pick up the carrots that rolled away. She smiles and says not to worry. Then she reaches into her own shopping trolley and pulls out a spare string bag. She offers it to me, saying she always carries an extra one just in case. I am surprised by her kindness. I thank her many times, and she just waves her hand and tells me to have a lovely day. I carefully move some of the heavier items, like the potatoes and the fish, into the new string bag. The string bag is very strong and stretches to fit the shapes of the vegetables. It feels much safer now. This small problem, which could have been a disaster, turned into a nice moment of connection with a stranger. It reminds me that most people are kind and willing to help. I find a small place to sit and reorganize all my things. I put the bread on top of the string bag and make sure the peaches and eggs are safe in my basket. I take a moment to breathe. The sun is higher now and it is getting warmer. I take off my jacket and tie it around my waist. My arms feel a little tired from carrying the bags, but it is a good kind of tired. It is the feeling of a job well done. I look at the broken handle of my old bag. I decide that I will fix it when I get home. I can sew it back on with some strong thread. I like the idea of repairing things instead of throwing them away. It gives the bag a story. Now it is time to leave the noise of the market behind and start the walk back to my quiet house. I feel calm and ready to go home. The walk home feels different than the walk to the market. The streets are no longer empty. There are more cars now, and people are opening their shops. Children are walking to school with their backpacks. Despite the activity, I still feel a sense of peace. I'm carrying the treasures I found at the market, and that makes me feel rich. The weight of the bags is a constant reminder of the fresh food I have. I take a different route home, walking through a small park. The trees are full of green leaves, and the sunlight filters through them, creating dancing patterns on the ground. I hear the sound of a fountain in the distance. I walk past the pond where some ducks are swimming. I stop for a minute to watch them. They move so gracefully through the water. I feel a cool breeze on my face, and it feels wonderful. My mind starts to plan the day. I think about where I will put the flowers and how I will cook the fish for dinner. These are simple, happy thoughts. I am not thinking about work or chores. I am just thinking about the present moment. I notice the smell of the lavender in my hand. It is so calming. I take another deep breath, filling my lungs with the fresh air and the scent of flowers. As I turn onto my street, I see my house at the end. It looks quiet and welcoming. The garden is bright in the morning sun. I feel a sense of relief to be almost home. My legs are a bit heavy now, and I am looking forward to sitting down with a glass of water. I walk up the front path, the gravel crunching under my shoes. I reach into my pocket for my keys, careful not to drop the pot of mint. I unlock the door and step inside. The house is cool and smells like home. I put my bags down on the kitchen counter with a satisfied sigh. The journey is over, but the enjoyment of the market will last all week. I feel a deep sense of accomplishment. I have moved my body, seen beautiful things, and gathered healthy food. It has been a perfect morning. Now that I am home, I begin to slowly unpack. This is a very relaxing process. I take the vegetables out one by one and lay them on the table. The colors look even brighter in my own kitchen. I wash the carrots and the spinach, feeling the cold water on my hands. I put the fruit into a large ceramic bowl and place it in the center of the table. It looks like a beautiful centerpiece. I find a tall glass vase for the lavender. I fill it with water and put the flowers inside. I place the vase on the windowsill where the light can hit the purple petals. The room immediately begins to smell like a garden. I take the small pot of mint and put it next to the sink. Every time I wash my hands, I will be able to smell the fresh mint. It makes the kitchen feel alive. I put the fish and the berries into the refrigerator to keep them cold. I put the sourdough bread in a wooden bread box. I feel a sense of order and calm as I find the place for everything. The house is quiet again, but it is a different kind of quiet than the early morning. It is a full, happy silence. I make myself a glass of water with a slice of the fresh lemon I bought. It tastes sharp and clean. I sit down in my favorite chair by the window. I look out at the street and think about the people I saw today. The man with the apples, the woman with the tomatoes, and the stranger who gave me the bag. I feel a sense of connection to them all. We are all part of the same rhythm of life. The market is a reminder of the simple things that make life good: fresh food, kind people, and the beauty of nature. My body feels relaxed and heavy. The sun is streaming through the window, warming my lap. I close my eyes for a moment and listen to the distant sounds of the neighborhood. A dog barking, a car driving past, the wind in the trees. I feel very safe and very peaceful. The busy morning is over, and now it is time for rest. I am grateful for the day, for the market, and for this quiet moment of peace. I feel ready to drift into a deep, restful sleep, dreaming of colors and sweet smells.